Hi Sew Fun friends, I'm really happy to be here with you this month. I wish we could be in person, but I'm so grateful that we have the ability to bring Sew Fun to you using technology. Maybe when I'm here again in June, we'll be in person. One of the things I really miss about seeing you guys is I really was thinking about when I was making my projects this month, how much I miss show and tell. I really miss seeing all the things that you guys are making, so I'm hoping that you're inspired to make some of the things that I made this month. First, I want to tell you about a couple of really cute embroidery projects I've been working on. This is a really adorable machine applique pattern by Fabric Confetti, and it's called Farmer's Market. The pattern originally has you stitch out these darling appliqued vegetables into a cute table runner, and they show you a picture of the table runner on the back of the pattern. So it gives you the directions for stitching them on 12-inch squares of fabric, and then it gives you the directions for how to sew it into the table runner. I thought these were super cute, but I thought it also would be cute to make them into other things. So I decided to do mine onto tote blanks. So we have two different tote blanks for you today. We have this cream canvas one that is taller than it is wide, and I thought it would go great for these cute tied with a ribbon stalks of asparagus. I thought that was really fun. And the other tote blank that we have for you is this denim one that is wider than it is tall, and so I thought that bushy carrot would look really cute on that. And the directions for the tote blank just have you stitch up the sides, but I boxed my sides by 1 inch on the corners to make the tote be able to be open a little bit more, and I think that that makes it a little bit more useful for me. And of course that's super easy to do just across that corner. I also thought that this pattern would make a darling pillow for like your front porch or in the summertime or for a kitchen. I thought it would be really cute stitched out and put in a frame hanging on your in your kitchen somewhere. I just thought there were lots of really fun uses for this applique pattern. I had a hard time choosing which ones to do. I also really like the eggplant. I thought that one was pretty dang cute. But I think this is a versatile pattern, super easy to do, and it's stitched out really easily. I liked the Fabric Confetti Farmer's Market so much that I searched for more embroidery designs from them and also found this inked Eat Your Vegetables pattern. And I just thought this was really, really fun. It's total embroidery, it's not applique at all. And I decided to stitch this out onto aprons, although it would be equally darling on tote bags or pillows or lots of other things. It has some really cute punny designs. This one says, "Let's Avo Cuddle." This one says, "Beat of My Heart." This is, "Let Them Eat Kale." And this is, "Let Us Party." I thought those were really fun. The designs stitch out in 3 different sizes, small, medium, and large. And so that really made me think, oh, this would make a really cute, like, parent-child, or in my case, Mimi grandchild, matching aprons. So I stitched out this little apron with the small embroidery. It says, "Let's Avo Cuddle." I know a couple little people who I think are really going to like this. And then I did a matching apron for myself. I shouldn't say matching, coordinating. So this is the large size of the design, and I did the one that says "Beat of My Heart." I thought it turned out really cute. And we have this apron for you that you can purchase. If you don't like this pretty blue, you can order it through the store in several different colors. And you can also order the child size apron if you'd like to do that as well. And these aprons are really nicely made. They're really, the fabric is really nice, and they have nice features. And this one even has this loop right here for you to loop a dish towel through, which I like a lot. One of the things I do want to mention with both aprons is that I washed them and dried them in the dryer before I did the embroidery, because both of them are 100% cotton, And an apron is something you're going to use and you're going to have to wash it. And I didn't want to do this beautiful embroidery on it and then wash it and have it not look nice. So when you're doing that, when you're embroidering on aprons or any other kind of clothing, kind of think ahead about things like that and pre-shrink your item that you're going to be embroidering on so that you're not really unhappy that you did all this work and it didn't turn out very well after you had to wash it. But it's stitched out really easily and really nice, and I think that the designs are just so cute. I love anything that's punny. One of the fun things we have for you this month is if you buy one of the canvas tote bag blanks, you get a free cute download that when you buy it in the store, they will send it to your email that has this darling embroidery on it for Easter and instructions on how to make the tote bag into what they're calling a busket, because it's some sort of combination between a basket and a bucket. So they're calling it a busket. So this is pretty cute. On one side, it says Bunny Trails, and I use teeny tiny little scraps of glitter and a little scrap of Minky to make the bunny, the glitter for the eggs. And on the other side, it says Cottontails. And I think it's really darling. The pattern called for using ribbon that has the crocheted edge to sew around here, but that's kind of not my style. So I got some of that chenille tape, this little loosely woven binding that's cut on the bias, and stitched that down in green and cream, and then I squirted it wet with a spray bottle and used a toothbrush and just kind of went over it like this to rough it up so that it would get all nice and fluffy, and I like how it looks kind of like grass. Now, you guys know that I'm still relatively a beginner when it comes to embroidery, and I learn things every time. So I'm going to tell you one of the things I learned so that you don't make the same mistake I did. In the directions that they had for this, it has you press this really hard seam across this way, and you can see it here. Don't do that. I trust you to measure without pressing that seam, and maybe even use a marking pin to mark where that seam goes, because it is literally impossible to get that seam out. I pressed it with steam, I squirted it with water and pressed it, I used Best Press and pressed it, and you can still see that fold right there. And that makes me not very happy to have that fold running through the middle of my embroidery when it turned out so cute. So learn of me and don't do that. Don't press that seam in really hard when it tells you to. But this was not hard to make. It was a quick little project, and I think some little person would really like that. I have some kind of great embroidery related notions for you today, and the first one I want to tell you about is this awesome Oliso iron. This is their mini iron, and it has some really, really wonderful features for me that I want to tell you about. So this little iron comes with this silicone trivet that also acts as a hanger. So when you're not using it, you can wrap the cord around it and hang it from a hook. You could even hang it off the end of your ironing board, you know how it has holes, or on your wall or wherever, to keep it out of the way. And when you are using the iron, you turn the trivet over. It just comes off like that. You turn the trivet over and you set this down your ironing board and you set the iron right on there. So when you're working, you can just leave the iron on and leave it on this trivet, and it's not going to burn through your ironing board cover or anything like that. It is ergonomically designed so it fits nicely in your hand. It's really easy to hold. It has a small little ironing surface so that it fits inside your embroidery hoop. So this is really, really great for ironing in your hoop if you need to fuse something down, if you have to press something out. It just works really, really well. Another great feature of this little iron, it is a steam iron, and you just push these two buttons. It has a little reservoir, and you push these two buttons to give you a little shot of steam. And it works really well for steam. Another great feature is it has this space right here. I don't know what this is called. It probably has a technical iron name, but I don't know what that's called. But it allows you, so you see that the point of the iron sticks out quite far from here, and there's an indent here. So you can get into small pointed areas that are very difficult to iron into corners and collars and under edges of things, to iron seams open. So I find that really, really useful, that pointed little end that it can go in there. The other great thing I really love about this iron, I had a really hard time choosing what color I wanted. It comes in this pretty turquoise color, and that's the color that I brought for you guys to buy today. But if you don't love turquoise, you can go in the store and you can order this in a beautiful purple, a bright sunny yellow, or a really great pink. So, oh my gosh, don't you all need a really cute iron that's really small? Yes, the answer is yes, I think you do. When you're done, the silicone cover just snaps right back on really easily, and you're ready to go. Okay, so speaking of ironing your embroidery, one of the great products that I brought for you today is the OESD Perfect Press Cloth. And I'm a little skeptical usually when something is billed as perfect, but this is really pretty great, and let me show you why. It's pretty big, so it's pretty generously sized, and it's made out of this thick, it feels a little bit like felt, or maybe like a wool felt. I'm not sure if it is, but it's a thick felt-like fabric, and it cushions your embroidery. So when you want to iron the back of your embroidery and make it nice and flat so you don't have any puckers around your stitching or anything, you lay this down flat on your ironing board, put your embroidery in the hoop still on top of it, and then you can press it with your darling brightly colored Aliso iron that you just got, and steam right through into this, and it absorbs the steam and pulls it down through your embroidery and makes it nice and flat and smooth, and it works really, really well. So I don't know if it's hyperbole for them to say it's perfect, but it does work really, really nicely, and I used it for ironing just about everything that I made this month, just because it just really gives you a nice, forgiving surface that keeps everything nice and smooth and flat. And it protects your embroidery so that you don't get those lumps and bumps when you iron over it. I used it when I was ironing the piecing on my quilts as well, because again, when you have lots of corners coming in together and the seams get kind of thick, on some of those seams I didn't want the lumps and bumps showing, so I used this to cushion those seams, and it worked really, really nicely. Another really great embroidery product has just come out from Kimber, and it's these great slap band stabilizer holders. These are genius. This is one of those ideas that I wish I had thought of. And honestly, I wish that all the stabilizer companies would come out with them to match theirs as well. But it's a set of 12, and they're rainbow colored. What's not to love about that? And each one is already marked. So like this one is ultralight cutaway. And remember back to the 90s when slap bracelets were all the rage. So this goes right around your roll of stabilizer to keep it from unrolling and to keep it organized. And it also allows you to really quickly and easily tell which stabilizer you're looking at, rather than getting your hemostats, going inside the tube, pulling out the little piece of paper so that you can read the name of what the stabilizer is. Now, because these are made by Kimber, they are specifically for the stabilizers that Kimber makes, but most of these are generic, like medium tearaway, heavy cutaway, medium cutaway, wash away topper, silky soft backing, fusible backing. So I found that even though the stabilizers that I have are not Kimber, I was able to use almost all of these for what I need. And the ones that don't specifically go with what I have, I'm just going to put a little piece of tape, like painter's tape, on there and write what it is. So it will still hold and organize my stabilizer and work really well. And then we'll hope that Floriani and Embellish and all those guys come out with their own set of bands. But in the meantime, these are a genius idea. I wish I'd invented it and thought of them myself. And they're really pretty. So what's not to love about that? One of the really cool things that we have for you this month is the OESD Expert Embroidery Kit. And this comes with pretty much everything that you need to get going with embroidery. It is crazy. It's a $650 value, and we've got it for $144 for you for So Fun. Let me show you all the fun stuff that's in here. I feel like I'm on YouTube with one of those unboxing videos or something like that. All right, it includes one of those great OESD Perfect Press Claws. We've already talked about how fabulous those are. It comes with 500 embroidery designs. We all love those. It's a packing list. It also comes with a stabilizer guide, so if you ever weren't sure what stabilizer to use for what project, this is super helpful. It has 2 rolls of tearaway tape, and I don't know about you, but I am always looking for tape when I'm doing embroidery. I feel like I go through it like crazy. One of these really awesome pairs of really pointy and sharp embroidery scissors. And it has a whole bunch of stabilizers. So this is wash away topper, and it has wash away, cut away, tear away medium, tear away light, and oh, this is cool. Now, I have not used black stabilizer before, but that would be super useful for lots of projects where you don't want that light stabilizer to show. Actually, I didn't even know they made black stabilizer. So this is really great. And it also comes with all this thread, 10 spools of embroidery thread. So this is a really, really amazing value. And if you're just getting started on embroidery, or if you've been doing it for a while and your supplies are getting low, this would be a great opportunity to get back in the game. All right, you know how we all love those Sally tomato bags and all the Sally tomato hardware and stuff. So I'm pretty excited to be able to show you the Hudson bag that I made. And this is a really versatile little bag, and it has some really great features that I want to be able to tell you about. So let me show you some of the really great features of this bag. It is the perfect size that if you wanted to, you could line it with Thinsulate, and it could become like a little cooler, like a little lunchbox cooler. Or it's also the perfect size that you could put a couple different little container of those like craft containers that have all the little compartments with lids and stuff like that would fit really great in here. It has 2 different handles, so it has this type of 2 handles, and then it also has an adjustable shoulder strap, and we have the hardware kits for you for this bag in the shiny chrome. If you want a different metal, you know you can get that. We also have the awesome Sally tomato zippers and these little donut pulls. I brought the navy with shiny chrome metallic for you. Again, you know these great Sally tomato zippers. If you want a different color, we can order that for you. And also these little donut pulls. It has a slip pocket on both sides between the handles. And then on both ends, it has this little magnetic flap pleated pocket, which is done in a really nice way. So it gives a really nice, clean, professional finish on those pockets with that nice little pleat, and the snap closes really great. On the top, it has another zippered pocket that of course is lined. And then the inside is of course lined. And is a really nice size. What gives this bag stability is bozal in our form, and we also have that for you. So we have the pattern, the hardware, the zippers, the bozal in our form, and it makes up to a really great size. It's not too big, it's not too small, kind of like Goldilocks, it's just right. And so I think you might really like the Hudson bag. And I really like these donut zippers. They're just a little bit more stylish than the straight bar ones that come with the zipper by the yard that you get with Sally Tomato zippers. And as usual, the zippers look like awesome metal, but they're vinyl, and so you can cut them and sew over them without hurting your scissors or your machine. I love those Jaylee patterns that we often bring for you because they come with a wide range of sizes, and they're usually really quick sews and very wearable. And when I saw this booty one, the name of the pattern is Nordic, I just thought that was really cool and different and interesting. And one of the fun things about this pattern is it comes with the whole range of both adult and children's sizes. It also comes with a great travel bag pattern included so that you can make a travel bag to carry your booties in. It comes with a low slipper option or the taller ones. So when Mallory asked me if I wanted her to make anything for So Fun for me this month, I said, hey, do you want to make this booty pattern? She goes, oh, yeah, because look at these booties she made for her little Delaney. Seriously, are those so stinking cute? And she lined them with a really soft fleece. They have this elastic cord and then a little cord lock right there. And she used the non-slip grippy, kind of rubbery fabric on the bottom. So when she's tooling around, she's not going to slip and fall. I just think that those are super adorable. And I think this is a really fun and versatile pattern for the whole family with lots of different options for different kinds of booties and slippers for you to make. I kind of fell in love with this Grain Line Studio uniform tunic pattern. It has lots of different options. It has a scoop neck or a V-neck. It has options for no sleeves or long sleeves, and then in the pattern it also tells you how you can do short sleeves. And it has pockets. It's kind of hard to see, but they're in the seam right there, or no pockets, and it either has a straight skirt or a split skirt. So there's many, many different variations on this pattern, and we brought the pattern in two different sizes. The first one is 0 to 16, and then the second one is 16 to all the way up to like 30, I think. So we have two different size patterns for you to choose from. And it made up super quick. So I chose a couple to kind of mix and match a couple of the different options on this, and I really am happy with how it turned out. I chose this kind of textured, nubby, blend, and it has a little bit of linen in it and a little bit of tinsel and cotton in it, and it feels super soft and drapey, and I like the drape of it. I chose to do this scoop neck, and I chose no pockets, and then I also chose it to have the split skirt. So you can see on the side the split skirt overlaps at the side. So the front overlaps the back, and it just gives this little bit of a drapey, flowy kind of look to it, which I think is really forgiving and flattering on almost all body types. It's super cool and kind of breezy, and I think I'm really going to enjoy wearing this in the late spring, early summertime, and I think it'll be really nice. And like I said, this was probably the second fastest project I made this month. It was really, really quick to go together on just my regular sewing machine. I didn't even use my serger for it. So I said that the uniform tunic was the second fastest project I made this month. This was the fastest. These cute little sweet pea pods by Lazy Girl Designs made up so quick, and they are really, really cute and easy, and they're a great scrap buster and useful for so many things. Let me show you how cute these are. So the way that these are constructed is really easy and pretty clever. So it starts with just a triangle of material, fusible batting and lining material, and they have you construct them in such a way that it creates this fun little triangle shape, and they're perfect for all kinds of little doodads and stuff. They'd be great to fill up with wonder clips to take to a class, or to throw into your sewing stuff when you're traveling somewhere. They'd be great for holding all kinds of little notions and items that you had. They'd be great made out of really cute fabric for kids stuff to hold all their little things. And the way that they have you construct the zipper is really clever. You'll see that it's all one piece here, so you do it with half of a zipper. So you separate the zipper teeth and pull the pulls off, and that enabled me to mix and match the colors of the pulls and the zippers, which also is kind of fun. You sew one side of the zipper on the long piece of the triangle, and before you sew the two ends together, then you put the zipper pull on and it zips it up and holds it together to create that little shape, which I think is super clever. And it was very easy and very, very fast to make. These were a quick little make. They'd make a darling little gift or a little container for a gift. And it's almost like instant gratification. It's fun to make something that's quick and cute and fun for yourself or to give away. You might remember a few years ago, one of the other presenters made these fat quarter gypsy wire-framed padded totes, and they were pretty popular. She's come out with a different version that she calls the utility tote. They're not padded, which gives them some different qualities that are useful for other situations. They're really good out of all different kinds of fabric, and they lend themselves to being used with mesh, oilcloth, canvas, and other utility types of fabric. They utilize these wire frames, and I have the small one here, although I've brought all three sizes for you to buy. But the wire frame goes around the top of the tote and is Velcroed to the top of the tote to give it the structure that it needs. But these totes, unlike the last ones, are collapsible, and that makes them useful for different things. So the pattern makes 3 different sizes. This is the small, and this is the one that uses this frame. So you see that the frame attaches to the inside on the top with Velcro that runs the entire length around. It was a little bit challenging for me to bend the binding that has the Velcro sewn to it around, but you just have to kind of like maneuver it and manhandle it just a little bit. These frames are very sturdy. The wire is very thick and strong. It feels like steel, I think. They're very, very strong. And so this is the small one with handles, and I decided to make a set that will coordinate. And what's nice about these is where the old one, the other pattern, I shouldn't say the old ones, but the previous pattern was padded so the sides stood up a little bit, but these do not have that padding in the sides, so they totally collapse down flat. So they're really easy to store in your car or in a closet or wherever you need them until you're ready to use them to carry somewhere. The bottom is lined. You make this envelope and cut a piece of cardboard that slides in, and it's nicely finished with binding. seam binding, and then that just slides into the bottom to give the tote the structure to hold its shape. So the small one, again, uses the small frame. The next size, the medium, has the medium frame. And again, it just collapses down. And then the large is very large. You could hold a lot of stuff in that. You could carry a baby in that. Probably wouldn't be that safe. How about laundry, folded up laundry or something? But I just thought those would be really pretty. They'd make a nice little set. And I like that they will nest within each other and they just collapse down flat, and it turns into a real useful, really nice item to make for yourself, or it'd make a fabulous gift for somebody else. I have some really great notions for you this month. You might remember a year or so ago, I had this rotating Omnigrid mat that was 12 inches in diameter that was super useful for all kinds of great things. Now they've come out with a small size of that. This is 8 inches in diameter, so it fits really nicely. And as you can see, like the other one, it turns really well. Put your finger in any of these little indentations and it rotates on its base. It has a non-slide base, so it adheres really, really well to your tabletop. And it's great to put right next to your sewing machine to quickly cut small things that you need to cut, especially when you're piecing a quilt or piecing any other small kind of thing. Works great for paper piecing, and it's just a really nice little travel size as well. Another fun new notion is this Wonder Clip holder that goes onto your wrist with a little slap band. I kind of have a slap band theme going this month. So again, it just goes right on there. And when you're sewing quickly, it allows you to quickly grab or put away your Wonder Clips when you're taking them off or putting them on something super fast. So it's kind of like those wrist pin cushions, only it's a little wrist Wonder Clip flower. It kind of reminds me of some sort of little flower with all those little petals in it or something. And it comes with 3 Wonder Clips, but you know, 3 is like nothing. You need about 100,000 Wonder Clips because we use them for everything. So this is a fun little notion, and it is right here, fits nicely on your wrist. It doesn't hurt you at all, or it's not too tight or too loose or anything like that. So it works really well, kind of helps you keep organized. Otherwise, what I do when I'm sewing is I am taking the Wonder Clips off when I'm sewing, and I kind of like fling them to the right of my sewing machine as I'm going, and then I have to go back through and pick them all up. So this is really a lot easier to just quickly put them right on here, and it works real great. All right, do you remember in October when I made the Twilight Boulevard bench pillow, and it had all those little twinkle lights in them, and we needed to punch holes through all the different layers on that embroidery for the lights to go through. And what you use to do that is the OESD Perfect Hole Punch. Now the things that I like about this are that it includes 3 different sizes of holes that it can punch, and the different punches are stored in the handle. So you're not going to lose them. You're not worried about finding the right one. This works really well because it has this big bulbous handle, so it's easy to hold on to. It doesn't hurt your hand, and it doesn't require very much effort to push through the fabric. You guys know that I have lots of hand problems, and so this is very easy to do, and it punches, it's very, very sharp, and it punches through lots of layers. You just position it over where you need to punch the hole, do it on top of a cutting mat, and you just push down and it twists around and uses that torque to push right through. And so it punches those holes very, very cleanly and very, very easily. And it becomes super useful. It's one of those tools that is the right tool for the right job can make all the difference when you're doing something. We all love Sew Tights. It's such a genius product, and they have come out with so many different types of Sew Tights, and this is one of their most recent inventions, and it's called the Sew Tights Magnum. And you can see that it's much, much bigger than the Sew Tights that we're familiar with. It is really good for some very specific things. So these are their biggest Sew Tights yet, and they're kind of cool for some really specific things. They're 4 inches long and very, very strong, like all the Sew Tights, and like all of them, it's almost impossible to just pull them apart because the magnets are so strong. You get them apart by sliding the back magnet or the back plate off of the magnets. Now, because these are so nice and big, they're particularly good for some applications in making bags where you need to hold things together where you cannot pin and you can't clip because it's in the middle, it's too far away from the edge. And so they're really good for that because they're nice and big, they hold over a wide area. But probably the most genius idea that I have seen these used for is attaching your quilt backing and top to leaders on long arm sewing machines. And so if you have a whole row of these mega Sew Tights, Magnum Sew Tights, not mega, they're mega big and they're Magnum. These Magnum Sew Tights, you can do them along the row of your leader on your long arm quilting machine so that you don't have to pin. And there's a couple YouTube videos that show different quilters using these, that if you look on YouTube, you can see it, and it's just genius. And they talk about how quick it is to attach your quilt backing and top onto the leaders on your long arm using these really big Sew Tights. So if you are a Sew Tight fan like I am, perhaps the Magnum is going to be really good. And actually they have a picture on the very front of the little package showing it all loaded onto a long arm sewing machine. One of the things that I want to remind you about the Sew Tights, with all the Sew Tights, is that they have checked with all the major sewing machine manufacturers, and they all say that these are safe to use on our electronic machines as long as you aren't magnetizing these and storing them on your sewing machine. But if you're just using them to hold something while you're sewing, they're perfectly safe to use with your electronic sewing machines. So we all have jelly rolls that we have bought because we cannot help ourselves, because they're so beautiful and we just like to look at them and hold them. And so if you have some jelly rolls that you aren't sure what to do with, this is a whole book of quilts that use jelly rolls. And if you don't have any jelly rolls, I have 2 for you to buy today. So the first jelly roll I have is this really beautiful Tilda Plum Orchard jelly roll, and the fabrics in here are really beautiful. And I used it to make one of the quilts in this book. I really liked, I don't want to spoil the surprise. I really liked this one. It's called Trifle, and this one actually uses strips that you cut off of the jelly roll, and it's foundation paper pieced, but really easy, just around a square. So you can see it just goes around the square and makes this really cool quilt. I love the look of this. I thought that was super versatile. You could make it with any kind of fabric. I think it's a design that will lend itself to almost any style of fabric. I also really like this mountainy triangle one that has all those triangles, and it looks like a mountain range or something like that to me. I really like that one. The one that I chose to make out of the Tilda fabric, and I really love how it turned out, is this one. It's called Parfait, and it takes a basic snowball quilt block and does a technique that she calls the disappearing snowball. So depending on how you arrange your light and dark fabrics, on some of the blocks it looks like a traditional snowball, and on others it doesn't, because the sides of it disappear into the back of the quilt. So because I had this really beautiful Tilda fabric to work with, I made what, if you know me, is the most unabashedly girly quilt I've ever made. And even when I was putting it up here today and setting up, Lynn said, "Lisa, that does not look like a Lisa quilt at all." But I made it for my niece, and I think she's really gonna love it. So this pattern is the one that I made, and I chose to back it with just a Kona cotton solid in a nice pale pink, and I, not back it, but the background fabric is Kona cotton in a pale pink, and I backed it in minky, in a pale pink minky. So it's super soft and cozy and kind of scrunchy, like you can just crumple it up and it feels really, really good. I also used Thermore batting because the minky does not shrink, and so I didn't want that really, really shrinkable cotton batting in there, and the Thermore is really, really thin, and the minky's so heavy that you don't need a thicker batting in here. So I used the Thermore batting because it's super thin and it's not going to shrink, and put that between the minky, and I just really like how it turned out. I did just a non-uniform wavy line quilting on this. I'm just very beginning experimenting with and learning how to use a long arm quilter. And so far it's pretty fun, but my learning curve is pretty steep. So I'm trying to do things that are pretty forgiving, and a wavy non-uniform line is pretty forgiving for me. This quilt has lots of little points and things that I would say this is not a beginner quilt pattern, but it's not very, very difficult, but it's for someone that has progressed enough that they know they can be very careful with their cutting and their piecing to make sure that all your little points aren't getting cut off and things like that. So it rewards careful piecing, and it rewards good pressing as you're going. I am a firm believer in pressing as you're piecing a quilt because I just think that the end product looks so good. But like Lynn said, this does not look very much like a Lisa quilt. It's so girly, but I made it for my niece who graduated with her master's degree, and she got her first grown-up job and moved far away by herself, and the only thing in her apartment is a second-hand boxy TV stand and a pink velvet sofa. So I figure any girl that's got a pink velvet sofa in her apartment would appreciate this girly quilt like this. So this is a quilt technique book called the Quilter's Negative Space Handbook. And it is an instruction book that teaches you how to take any quilt design and change it so that you're utilizing negative space that can take then almost any classic quilt pattern and make it look modern and fresh and interesting and new. And it talks about different ways of using negative space to do that. So this is a really great technique book, and it walks you through step by step on how to take any traditional quilting pattern or any quilting pattern and change it utilizing negative space to make it fresh and modern and interesting. So there's lots of different examples, and here's just a few of how you can do it. Here, this one is called Standing Alone, where you can take one small element from a quilt pattern and blow it up and use that to just make an interesting quilt. And you can offset it, cut it off, do some interesting things to it. Another great technique is called setting rows, where it talks about how to use negative space, and instead of having a whole quilt that is this, just do it in specific areas. I like this section because they teach you a little bit about the rule of thirds, which is a very common design principle used in art and especially in photography. And if you incorporate the rule of thirds into your quilting as well, it's going to elevate your quilting and make it more artistic and interesting to look at and more modern. This section talks about disintegration, where they talk about how you can take one quilt element or block and kind of like blow it up and make it sort of go out into the rest of the quilt. And this is what I chose to do using a very traditional quilt pattern. I used a traditional quilt pattern out of this book, the On a Roll book, and it's a pineapple block. I'll show you the picture where you can see the whole quilt. So this is a traditional quilt block. It's called the pineapple block. I'm sure you've seen it lots of different times, but I interpreted it in a different way using the principle of disintegration in this book and incorporating negative space into the background of my quilt to change it, totally change it. It's unrecognizable. The jelly roll that I brought for you that you can buy is this one called Moongate. And when I chose this, Mallory said, oh, that's interesting. Tracy also used that same jelly roll a few months ago. So if you bought it when Tracy had it and you don't quite know what to do with it, here's another alternative that really changes the whole look and feel of this fabric line. I chose it, so if you didn't buy it, now's your chance to get it. I chose it because the bright colors really lent itself to what I was going for. So you can see on this quilt, I have 4 full blocks that are the pineapple blocks. So I have 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th one is up in that corner. And then I have 4 partial pineapple blocks where I interspersed the really, really dark gray background fabric that I have not in an ununiform way into the block. So like this one is almost a full block. Like you have the whole center of it and almost all of it. Whereas this one is hardly any of the bright fabric. So it makes it look like I don't know, it looks like when I stand back and look at it, it looks almost like organic to me, like it's growing out or doing something interesting. And it's all because the background that is this dark gray creates negative space in the pattern that totally changes the look of it. You would never look at this and think that that is that same quilt pattern. And so I just think that this is a really cool technique book where you can take lots of different ideas and make them new and fresh and modern and interesting. Thanks for being here with me today. I had a lot of fun making these projects, and I hope that you'll enjoy making some of them as well. You know that you can come into your local store and see all my samples in person and buy the products that I talked about, or you can buy them on our website. I hope you have a great spring, and I'll be back with you again in June.